Welcome back to Paris and the Game Inside the Games, presented by Microsoft Copilot. I'm Olympic gold medalist Nastia Liukin.
And I'm sport and performance psychologist, Dr. Michael Gervais. And together, we're bringing you an inside look at the games like never before. Okay, we're jumping back into our conversation, breaking down women's gymnastics all around. And in part one, we talked about your preparation. We talked about walking out of the tunnel, sticking the landing. We talked about, vault. And then next up, take us away. We're going to talk about bars and the other elements.
Yes, absolutely. So everybody's best event obviously is different. For me, it was the uneven bars. I knew that I had to hit the best routine I possibly could in order just to stay competitive with the rest of the field. I wasn't as strong on vault, even with that stuck landing, just as I had done in my dream. I knew that this event coming up right now was so crucial. And so I always felt more nervous on this event because I knew what was at stake. So it was even more important to put myself in that headspace of calmness and confidence, but also a little bit of that attack. And so it's a very fine line of trying to balance the right proportions, I guess, if you will, of each of those feelings.
It's a little bit like an equalizer.
Yeah.
So when you're on the inner game, or you think of a couple dials, you've got the confidence dial, you've got the activation or the calm nervousness type of dial. And then there's the type of aggressiveness that you want. So there's these dials. That's kind of what the inner game is. First, you have to know what the dials are. And then secondly, you have to have the skills to be able to level them up or
and imagine
drag
doing
them
that
down. Yeah.
then when you're on a 4-inch wide balance beam, right? When you're already nervous and your heart is beating and just one little like a pinky toe could be off and it becomes scary. But
this is why we don't wait until these moments to train and prepare on the mental part of the game.
That's exactly right. And I think that's what a great coach does too. It goes back to the gym. You can't learn that in a competition. You have to put yourself in that mindset. And of course, it's not really fully possible in the gym because there's no audience, because there's no distractions, but you have to try your absolute best to do so. So you put yourself in training. At least for us, we used to go to another gym, and just say, this is your competition.
Just to get a little bit of energy.
This is your 30-second touch. Go. You're not used to the surroundings. You're not used to the bars. You're not used to the noises at this gym.
Cool.
Because when you train at a gym and everything is the same day after day after day after day, then it just becomes like your normal.
It's very cool. Now, we're talking about bars. What was the 30-second touch like for that? What was the process? Bring us into when you were getting ready to go do your bars.
So this is the part I feel like is not really talked about. If you're watching this happen, and sometimes you don't really get to see this happen, the lineup on the bars in the all-around finals, it's all like seeded based on the qualifying round of competition. Scores don't carry over, but it's based on that. So when the start list comes out, immediately you look who you're after on bars. Because we use grips.
The U.S.
The U.S. gymnasts use grips. Now, some of the countries don't. China, for instance, they use honey on the bar. So to paint that picture, your grips are going to get stuck.
Wait, honey and chalk?
Honey and chalk. A little bit of chalk, but some honey, yeah.
And wait, before you go into it, why did they use honey?
Because they don't use grips. So they don't use anything to help them grip the bar. And they need the sticky.
The tackiness of it. Okay.
But with a grip, if like for us, we use a grip, your hand and arm could get stuck so badly that you could break your arm. It's very dangerous if it gets like super sticky.
Okay, so if you've got 30 seconds, China just finished.
Well, you have to do it basically twice. So the 30-second touch, so basically I got the luck of the draw. I'm after the Chinese, for instance. 30-second touch happens. This is also super fast. So your coach is having to hurry up and strip down the bar, put chalk on it, put water on it, put chalk on it again. 30-second touch, whatever, because you're not doing your full routine. But the second you get to the competition, if you are after a Chinese gymnast, that's someone that wears grips, like we do, the coach literally runs onto the podium because you don't know how long you have. Sometimes a judge will take longer to score that routine before you. Sometimes they're so fast. And when that green light comes on, you have 30 seconds to touch the bar. And if you don't, you get a 0.
Oh, okay. It does. I've never heard this before. So I would imagine that when you're walking up, you're in a chill spot. You're working to get yourself in the right place, but you're seeing your coach.
Not chill at all.
No, frantically,
yes.
if you will,
Jumping
running, trying to be calm probably.
Yes, but
not sending any signals. And how are you interpreting all that?
So to be completely honest, I think a lot of times I would try to stand my back to the bar for that reason. And the screen board is in front of me. So I'm looking also at that because my dad, who was my coach, he's not paying attention to that in that moment. He's kind of looking back and forth just to make sure the green light isn't on. But I'm just looking at that because I know when that score comes up from the competitor before me, the green light is about to come on.
Oh, so you're actually, this is interesting.
So then I'm watching the score.
You're watching the score.
I don't want to be, but you have to be. Because that's the only place that the green light comes on.
Oh, what a convenient place to put a green light.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, all right, let's go there for a minute. You're getting ready to go and you're looking for the green light. Your coach is behind you frantically, if you're following somebody that uses honey, frantically trying to get the bar cleaned. You are hoping he gets it right, which happens to be.
My dad, I knew that he'd get it right, but you also don't fully know because there could be a few spots on the bar. Like you only have seconds.
And you don't know until you're actually doing
on
your
the
first,
your
first
can't
swing
touch the bar.
or
Absolutely.
pike or whatever it might be.
Absolutely.
And let me get it right. You could break your arm if
it's
if
very
he
dangerous.
didn't do it.
Yes, if your hands roll. Yes.
And so let's go to that moment. You're waiting for the green light. You're finding your ideal competitive mindset and you see an elite score come up. You see your last person just absolutely stuck it. They did a great job.
To be completely honest, I'm looking at the numbers, but I'm not looking at the numbers.
So it's not like going.
I'm not looking for her score at all.
So let's say she gets an elite score. You hear the audience erupt.
Tune it out.
You don't.
There's nothing you can do about it.
And if you were to hear it and saw that she had an elite score?
I mean, you literally can't do anything about that.
Okay. So that's what you say.
Yeah.
Not my business.
Yeah.
Good for her?
Good for her. Yeah, no, truly good for her. But that's not in my control. The only thing that I can now control is my routine. And regardless of her score, I know I need to do a good routine. Regardless of what she gets.
If she
gets a great score or not great score.
Okay.
So whether the opportunity is there because she didn't do so well or she had the best score of her life, I still have to do that same routine. I still have to do my same best. Doesn't matter what she got. So seeing someone score, sure, you can look at the scoreboard, but what is that going to do for you?
Are you aiming to be your best or the best?
I'm aiming to be my best, but I knew in that moment if I was my best, it would be the best.
And is that a common theme for most gymnasts? In the all-around, there's 8 gymnasts that are out there.
Well, 8 on each event.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's quite a few, but the top 8 are kind of the ones that are really battling for the podium, for those top 3 spots.
Would you say that most of them, when we're watching the event, one of the most celebrated events at the games, would you say that most people are trying to be their best or the best? And of course, you can't go into the minds of your competitors.
Right. You know, I think that's an interesting question for those athletes because I think that is the difference. You know, I talked about trying to simply beat somebody else or trying to beat the best. You can't do that. You have to be your best. Mm-hmm. You can't try to beat someone. You have to be the best version of yourself. You have to have your best performance, not get higher score than somebody else.
And that framing, that philosophy is what allows you to not be overrun by the crowd noise or the score next to the green light.
Absolutely.
I totally get it now. So I think this is really important for the viewer and the listener here is that your philosophy dictates a big part of how you respond to anything in life.
Absolutely.
And those first principles you can work on. You can be very clear. Look, my job is master what's in my control, adjust to, continually adjust because I'm trying to be my very best.
And the way I like to, kind of frame it is control the controllables.
Yeah, super simple.
So simple.
Yeah, super
the
simple.
Things that you can't control, stop trying to control. And so, but the things that are in not your control, but say your coach's control. So he's finishing, chalking up the bar. Then there's another element to, the wires of the bar.
Oh, like the torsion and the tightness of the slack.
Yes. Every single athlete likes them differently.
And how did you like yours?
I mean, I couldn't tell you exactly where, like tighter, but they would put a little piece, like a Sharpie or a little piece of white tape so they knew exactly how to pull them up. But if you got confused with somebody else's piece of white tape or Sharpie, like these are all the things that are, can you imagine the coach too? Yeah. The amount of pressure, and then it's your dad, the amount of pressure that he felt. And so then when the green light comes on, I immediately make eye contact, try to make eye contact with him to let him know I now have 30 seconds in case he's not paying attention.
Okay.
Not that he's not paying attention, but he's trying to do a million other important things. So as soon as I make eye contact with him and let him know, or he sees that the green, he's wrapping it up as quickly as possible, but he is frantically wrapping it up.
So let's get you on the bar. Honey's gone.
Hopefully,
you're on it. You're standing in front of the bar.
Yep.
Okay. You're about ready to go. Mm-hmm. You don't know if the honey's off. Okay.
You hope.
You hope. What is happening in that moment for you?
I said the same exact thing every single time. I would salute. I would fix my 2 grip just to make sure the buckle was in. I would tighten my earrings. And then I would close my eyes, take a breath. And then in my head, I would say, keep a positive thought because a positive thought cannot be denied.
Oh, that's what you would say.
Mm-hmm. And then I would mount the bar.
And what did that phrase mean to you?
I think it went back to making myself believe that it wasn't about making it or not. It was about how well I was going to make that bar routine, for instance.
It's interesting because it's not actually having a positive thought. It is more of a message. It's more of a philosophy to yourself. But you know what's interesting? Cannot be denied. Like that, there's something probably pretty magical about that to you.
I don't even know where it came from, to be honest. Like I just know that I did it for years. Like I don't remember the first day that I did it, but it was every single time. Like not just at the Olympics, not just in a competition. It was every single time I would, like if you go back and look at it, I do the same exact thing on bars. And I never said it on any other event.
That's really interesting. There's a clip right now of Simone right before mm-hmm. she's about walking out. I don't know if you saw this, that she says, she's mouthing it. So we're kind of making it up. It's either I got this mm-hmm. or you got this. Yep. I think she says, I got this. So that idea that you're pointing your mind mm-hmm. and your body towards the thing that matters to you. Awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's part of a pre-performance routine.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you actually are you actually thinking, did dad get rid of the honey on your first rotation? Are you checking?
Yes, I am. Not that, but you can't change anything at this point. Like if there's honey there, you have to figure it out. You have to adapt. Mm-hmm. And so then you're thinking, I'm going to take it a step further. So my bar routine specifically, everyone's routine is different. I went from one side of the bar to the other. Like I covered the whole, because I would do all these skills in a row. And a lot of people just kind of stay in the middle of the bars. But so for my dad, he knew it was important to get from there to there. He had to get the whole bar, right? So it is like, there might be honey here. So let me shift my hand just a little bit, but it's a deduction if a judge notices you shift too much.
But you're avoiding breaking your arm. You're avoiding getting stuck. Yeah.
Or not being able to do the next skill because I got stuck.
This is totally the game inside the games.
It is.
Yeah.
And then you're just thinking too, like you don't want to think too negatively if there's honey because you know it's going to affect you, but you have to also be thinking. So in my mind, I was going through my mental choreography in my head while doing the bar routine.
Wait, you're not just totally immersed in it and letting it flow.
No, you're not. I mean, you're letting it flow. Your body is flowing. Mm-hmm. But your mind has its own routine too.
So while you're doing, let's say, a giant rotation, mm-hmm. and do you recognize like, oh, that was good? Or are you recognizing like, okay,
I'm not saying that was good or not. I'm saying
what you're going to go do next.
So basically, like a coach in practice, in training, talks you through your entire routine. It's just like kind of what they do. Okay, a little bit to the left. Okay, now kick your heels, tap to the right, like all those little
They're
things.
giving you technical cues?
Yes, throughout in training. But they're not allowed to talk to you in a competition. They say one word, it's a deduction. So you're saying everything that they have told you consistently, you're telling yourself all those same exact things.
Well, this is totally new to me that you are, it would be the least potent thing to think about, which is a technical cue. It's not that it's wrong. You're on the right side of the ledger, if you will.
You're telling yourself what to do technically in order to make it the best possible giant,
That's
best
it.
possible
Okay,
whatever.
got it. Yeah.
And
okay.
it's throughout the entire, from start to finish. So from that very first kip, cast, handstand. And that's what you're telling yourself. Okay, now toes up to the bar. Like you're talking yourself through the routine.
Yeah, there you go.
How to make it perfect.
What percentage of time does it get so quiet that there's nothing there and it's completely fluid? You found the pocket. It's in that flow zone.
99% of the time.
It does. So it actually.
It's, I don't hear anything or anybody except my dad, your coach's voice, but in my head, because he's not able to actually speak.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear maybe one voice, if it's somebody else, our head coach, for instance, but you know what's very interesting is or your teammates, they're allowed to cheer for you, but I would only hear them. I'm sure they were cheering for the whole thing. Well, I would hope, but you don't hear them until you need it.
Oh, that's really interesting.
So for me, it was right before my dismount. I'm out of breath. I'm exhausted. It's a tough routine. So all of a sudden, when I needed it, I would hear them cheering.
I mean, I'm struck by that.
Why?
Because,
how?
Yeah, because it's like there's like another level that you're working from, which is this. It's actually quite beautiful. Is that you're open to receiving what you need, and it's almost like I know I said it. It's like another dimension of the human experience. So this is not a robotic, technique to technique to technique to technique. This is like, no, I'm available to the unfolding moment. And if I feel like I need a little juice, my attention kind of shifts over to that way. And you hear them kind of,
like you got it.
Get it. Yeah, right. Very cool.
And all of this, by the way, is happening within 30 to 40 seconds.
And I want to reiterate the importance of that statement, because in some of the events here, you get multiple shots, you get multiple games, and you only get one. You get one shot at it.
Yeah, I mean, in women's gymnastics, it's very common to it's hard to go to one Olympics, and then on top of that, to go to another Olympics, right? Like that's it's becoming a little bit more likely, I guess you could say, or more common. But then to win.
No, I totally disagree. I think it's incredibly hard to get to the games. You were in this circuit where.
Yeah, it was. But to go again was like.
Exponentially harder.
Yes.
And to podium.
To come.
It's
so
really,
let's put
really
this in
hard to
perspective.
podium.
Back here this week in Paris, Simone Biles has won the all-around gold medal. Suni Lee has also won the all-around gold medal. They are now back for the first time in history. 2 Olympic all-around champions competing in the same exact final. We've never seen this before.
What are you imagining this final is going to be like?
Probably some of the best gymnastics that we will all witness in history under one roof at the same time.
And there's probably a game inside the game there, because Suni was, I don't know, she won gold at the last games.
Absolutely.
When Simone had a really hard go and she had to pull out.
Yeah, she did.
And there's a narrative like, Suni, what was it like to win gold knowing that Simone,
but
like,
you know what,
like it was handed to you type of thing, which is not right.
I completely disagree with that, because you know what she could have done? She knew Simone pulled out, that we all did. The pressure that she had in that moment, knowing that now she could win, so many would falter.
Oh yeah, there's
crumble,
new element
just
here.
Absolutely crumble.
And then, so bring it back to this games. if there's a little narrative inside of her, which is like, I only won gold because.
You can't even think that, and to be honest, from that win to now, what she has been through, her health, I mean, she has been through quite a lot in the last few years.
We're talking about Simone.
With Suni.
Suni.
Yes.
Okay. She's been through a lot as well.
Yes, just a lot. Everybody has, right? In the last, I guess, 3 years, not 4 because of the delay of the Olympics. So for them both just to simply be here, medals aside, I think they would both say the same exact thing. It's not necessarily about the outcome here. It is already history, what they're doing. Mm-hmm. They've already just made it. And I know it's so funny to say that after all of, all the conversations that we've had. It's not just about making it, but sometimes for them, I'm not putting words in their mouth, but for them to have made it to this all-around Olympic final, that's a success.
For Simone to be here, facing down the twisties, for her to face down the fear that she felt that was so overwhelming that she had to walk away.
The danger.
The danger.
Yeah.
Yeah. The real risk.
Yes,
it
absolutely.
was a physically consequential mistakes that could be happening. For her to come back from that is remarkable. And so it's an exciting game inside the games that we're watching in gymnastics unfold. And I have one more question for you about the inner experience. When you know that the margins are tight and that you're trying to gate that out because you are trying to be your very best. And when you land, you want to stick it, legs together, like that beautiful
perfect
kind
stick.
of, stick. And then when you take one step, you get a deduction, you take 2 steps. When you take 2 steps or 2.5 steps, what happens right after that moment?
For me, I'm thinking 1/10 deduction, 2, 3. If you take a step that's larger than the width of your shoulders, that's a 3/10 deduction. So I'm calculating everything.
So you go to math and analytics.
Not everybody does.
You go to self, like,
absolutely.
Oh, gutted.
No,
you don't go to the future. Like,
I mean,
everything's
a fall,
gone.
maybe. If you have like a mistake where it's like you fall off the beam, perhaps like you're just devastated. But in that moment, I'm calculating everything because you cannot, sometimes it comes down, an all-around gold medal can come down to 1 step or even less than a step. I won a silver medal in World Championships in the all-around I could have gotten a gold, but I missed the gold by 0.001. So that is a step is 1/10 deduction. That is like a pinky toe. And so in that moment, as soon as you salute and you're done, and now it's in the hands of the judges. So now your control, it's out of your control. You have no more control of that score. You've already done it. So then you're standing there on the side waiting for your score to come up. And for me, I immediately go to the math. I'm calculating every single thing that I did because I know what my difficulty, so it's your starting value, should be if I do everything the way that it should be done. So if I'm not getting any skill devalued, if I make all those connections and I get the bonus 10s for those connections, but I know if I don't, what is going to happen.
And if you took a step or 2,
well,
so you're doing all that math.
So there's 2 parts to the scoring system. There's the stepping part, so that's the execution. So that is one side of it that I'm not quite touching yet because that's the somewhat subjective side. The step's not subjective, but a little short on the handstand, your toes are not pointed, your knees are bent. So a judge can kind of see things a little differently. The choreography aspect, if someone didn't love the way you flow, like that's all one side of it. So I'm putting that aside. Now I'm first and foremost thinking about the difficulty. Did I get the bonus? Did I get that connection? Did I make it in a handstand where it's now valued as an E versus a D? And a D is worth however many 10. So that's what I'm doing. So if you're looking into the camera and you're saying, why is she not excited that she made that great routine? Because I'm making sure that I got the highest level of difficulty that I should.
So you're not playing a secondary game of looking stoic or being happy.
I'm not trying to be one thing or another. I am literally
doing
focused,
the math, focused. So whatever we're seeing when we're watching you is honest in that way. Is that what happens for all athletes?
No. I think a lot of people, the athletes sometimes don't even know their highest possible difficulty, let alone how to calculate it or what it is. They just they put it in the hands of the coach. But I think, and not that I didn't trust my coach, I was just so in it We both were. And you only have a certain amount of time. If somebody doesn't give you the difficulty that you were looking to get. So the execution, you cannot make you can't protest that score. But the difficulty you can. If you feel that the judge didn't give you your highest potential score,
you can protest.
You can. But you have to be so certain that what she maybe devalued, there have been times that a judge miscalculated. And so you can get another 10th or 2 tenths back too. But sometimes if you know the way that you did a certain skill, or if you had 2 skills, say for beam, you had 2 skills that were supposed to connect. You did the one skill and you kind of had a wobble, but you go into the next. So you broke that connection. So you don't get the bonus for that. So that's why I'm calculating. I'm going back through, did I get that connection? Did I wobble anywhere? You are doing all of that because you have to make sure when that score comes up and you look at both scores, you really only see the big number, but you see on the side 2 small scores, the execution, which you're always trying to get as high, close to a 10-0 as possible. But then the difficulty is really what you're looking at, a 7.7 for me on the bars. So out of a 7.7 and a 10.0, my highest maximum score is a 17.7. So you're trying to get as high to that score as possible.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And then you're focusing on the next event too, by the way.
How do you imagine somebody like Simone does it? Does she do it differently? Is this similar?
I think, I've actually never asked her if she's calculating her scores. I know a lot of times the coach is kind of doing it. And it depends on the event, right? On vault, there isn't really a difficulty that can be devalued unless it's really bad. So you're replaying the step on the landing, the run back. And, I know that's what she would be doing in that moment. On bars, in the past, she's kind of said, like, I'm just trying to get through that routine. That's not her favorite. So she just wants to get through. Bars for her. Whereas for me, that was my strongest. I was not just trying to get through. I was trying to make sure that I had the highest, difficulty. I connected everything. I stuck the landing, whatever it was. And that is, for her, that is the other events, beam and floor.
When I was very early in my career, sports psychology was a bit more taboo or it was just a bit more, it wasn't used as much as it is now, which is an awesome progression. And folks would ask, like, what are the athletes that are most interested in it? As, cage fighters and gymnasts.
I would have to agree. I mean, when I went to school, I wanted to major in psychology because I was so enamored by how did I do that? Yeah. And just the mental aspect to the sport. I didn't end up majoring in it. I minored in it, but I was just so intrigued by the mind.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Well done.
Thank you. All right, now it's time for our AI Insights brought to you today by LTI Mindtree and Microsoft. LTI Mindtree gets you to the future faster with Copilot for Microsoft 365. So today we told Copilot to pretend it's a coach for a professional gymnast. Based on the current scoring system in women's gymnastics, we asked it for the highest scoring vault. So let's see what it came up with. Wow, so that's really cool. For vault, it shows the Yurchenko double pike, which is the difficulty of a 6.0. So that's the vault Simone Biles does. So basically that makes complete sense because nobody else in the world can do it except for her.
That is a really cool application for AI. Thank you, Copilot. Well done. And thank you, Nastia. Another great conversation. I really enjoyed this one as well.
Thanks, Mike. So did I. And we'll see you all here tomorrow from Paris on the game Inside the Games.